Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee, your host of this podcast, and I'm excited to be here. This is going to be a slightly shorter episode, and I'm sure you'll be fine with that, I would imagine. People probably have a bit harder time with the longer ones, but anyway, here we go. Today, I'm going to be actually consistent and talk about what I said I would talk about at the end of the last episode. High five me on that. Sometimes I get scattered and don't remember, but I remembered this whole time what I wanted to talk about next. And that is the value of recognizing what your favorite things are. And it doesn't have to be like Oprah, like, oh, this is my favorite blanket, although that could be something that you could write down or think about because it is nice to cozy up with your favorite blanket. But one of the things that I offered on my website, and I realized it's kind of down low on the homepage, not, no, it's not even on the homepage, it's on the about page. So maybe I need to, I don't know, put it somewhere else too. But I have a little handout PDF or Google Drive link. You could choose either way that asks you a lot of questions to ponder what your favorite things are. And they're not that hard, but I think of it as kind of like a show and tell back when you were younger. I don't know if you did that when you were in school. That was a big part when I was in school, that it would be show and tell time at school and you'd get to bring something from home. You know, it could be a toy or I don't know. Actually, we probably didn't bring toys like kids try to now. I don't know if we actually brought things or just told about something. We probably did a little bit of each. But it's fun to ponder what you love. It's also really great to share it. Not everybody always wants to hear like everything that we have going on in our minds or what we love, but you're welcome to share it back with me if you want to email it to me so I could see, but that's not the purpose of it. I mean, if you do want it to be like show and tell and share, feel free to share. When my kids went to school, they called it sharing time. Like it's sharing time. You can get up and tell us what you did last week that you loved or something like that. But the real purpose of it is to put you in a state, well, there's two purposes, is to put you in a state of gratitude. Because when you start pondering the things that are your favorites, you realize that there's a lot of things that you love. And it puts you more in that state of gratitude, of feeling pleasant, like, oh, there's a lot of great things in my life that I love. And being grateful not only feels good, but studies show that it supports better health. We're less stressed inside our bodies by feeling that gratitude, by pondering things that we love. It can also lead to greater happiness. That's probably self-explanatory, but it also can contribute to having greater wisdom in ourselves. That's pretty cool, huh? And maybe that's just it clears the mind somehow. And having greater wisdom in ourselves can be beneficial for improving our lives with the things that challenge us with ADHD. It can improve all aspects, but if you have some challenges that ADHD brings in accomplishing what you want to do in life, or just getting up and feeling not so scattered, or whatever it is, you know, all the little things, we have our things. I dyed my roots this afternoon, and I was actually going to come up here and try to record this in that 45-minute time period. But I decided not to do that because I usually wear headphones and I that would be messy. But anyway, just in my little time dyeing my roots, my scatteredness slash clumsiness, I think they're related, showed up. One of like my bangs came down and flicked some dye in my eye. That hurt. I bumped into something, got some dye on the counter. I mean, it was just like, you know what, don't they call it like a comedy of errors? Like a few things in a row where, and I honestly think it was because we have two sinks in our bathroom, and I was doing it on the right sink, which isn't the sink I usually do it on. That's where my husband brushes his teeth. That's his sink. I wasn't doing it on my side. I think that really was what it was. But it kind of went on and on. Later, I got more in my eye. I mean, like splash what? Anyway, yeah, I think 3 times in my eye. And it's never happened before. But could being in a mellower state or more pleasant mode instead of, oh, get in there and dye your hair because you still want to make a podcast episode and you want your roots not to be so gray when it's time to go somewhere in 2 hours. So maybe if I just kind of slowed down a little bit, smelled the roses, that would have been helpful. Who knows? Who knows? But that's a pretty cool list of things: supporting greater health, supporting greater happiness, and supporting greater wisdom in ourselves. So that's one. It's having that sense of gratitude. But actually, that's number two on my list for why I decided to make a favorite things quiz for you. And that's because I learned several years ago that sometimes being at home, and I was a stay-at-home mom with 6 children. Have I mentioned I have 6 kids? They're grown now. But there were days, where you're just like walking to do the laundry or whatever it is, and you just kind of feel like humdrum. And if there was a video of me, I probably don't have a smile on my face. And so I started just thinking, just smile when you feel that way. And so I started doing that, and that made a difference. And then I decided you need to think about the little things that you love. Something just little during the day that can make it not so humdrum. And I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, life was so awful. It wasn't awful. It wasn't awful. It was challenging for sure, but it wasn't awful. But my day could feel better. I could do better if I had something in my room, in my house that I saw while I walked back and forth that was one of my favorite things. So I realized, and I probably have this on my list of favorite things on my about page, but I have candles on there because I realized I love to see a candle flame. I love to see a fire in the wood stove. We had a wood stove in that house. Our last house had a fireplace and a wood stove, like two different. I love to sit and look at those flames. It just calms me. It makes me happy. The sound, the feeling, everything, getting the wood, making the fire, but even a candle gave me a bit of that. So it wasn't like I needed to smell a certain way in my house, although that could be somebody's favorite thing, certain fragrance, certain smell or something. But I knew, like, if I just go find a candle and light it, I will feel a little better, do a little better each time that I do that. Maybe I'm not lighting a candle every day. Maybe you do. I don't always remember, but I think of it pretty often. And another study has shown that taking the time to appreciate moments of joy, moments of things that we connect to that elicit a reaction in our being that is pleasant, that can transform our lives. Just one small encounter at a time, just one little bit, whether it's one day, one another day, or whatever. So I made this favorite things quiz so you could look at it because I actually had to do that at the time. And the quiz that I made is, I think it's 11 pages. So don't feel like I think there's only 3 questions on each page. Don't feel like you have to answer everything. And I think I even gave a few pages that's like, think if you think of more things, feel free to write them down. Like if you wanted to, you got to the end and you're like, I don't want to turn this over. Or if you're doing it online, there's not room to do this. So it just gave you, space to do that. And if you do it on the PDF, it's prettier. Or if you print it out, it's prettier. So, and I like pretty. So that's one of my favorite things is to have stationery. In the olden days, they called it stationery. Like going to the Hallmark store was a stationery store. But getting a notebook, the feel of the paper and the prettiness of the cover, that matters to me. That's one of my favorite things that I could have in my day just to make it better. If it's that thin binder paper from just a normal colored spiral round notebook like from school, it doesn't make me as happy. So I think it's really wonderful to start recognizing those things because that's what I did back then. I thought, think of a few things that make you happy, and they don't have to just be something that is going like a candle that's constantly going, that you can't stop what you're doing. It can be stopping what you're doing. We had a hammock out in our yard, and sometimes I'd stop what I was doing and go out in the hammock and just lay there and look up at the trees or watch my kids play. That was another one of my favorite things that I knew made me feel good. So I got into a little pattern, which we've talked about patterns a little bit so far, or I have. And it's part of my strategy for working with ADHD is developing patterns that don't take a lot of effort, because one thing follows another, one thing follows another. And so my new pattern became going outside to get the mail. We actually had to cross our road. We lived in the redwoods. It was kind of a windy road. You had to look both ways in case a logging truck or something would be coming around the road. What I'd do is I'd walk out, get the mail, walk over to the hammock, open the mail, and toss whatever, we didn't keep in the trash before I even came in the house. But I could lay there. That was back when people wrote letters a little bit more often too. I mean, we did have a computer. This was early 2000s, but sometimes you get a card in the mail or something a little nicer, a little catalog you wanted to look at, because there wasn't as many online businesses. But that was fun for me. That was one of my favorite things to do. And it helped me in my day to feel a little better about things. Another way I have used defining my favorite things to help me was when we moved from that house in the Redwoods. We lived in that house for 10 years. We rented a house on the ocean for, I think, 4 or 5 years before that. So when we moved, I had a hard time at first. And the irony is that the new place that we lived also was on the Pacific Ocean. I mean, we didn't have a view of the ocean, but we were 15 minutes from the beach, and it was also in the redwoods. But I really missed where I used to live. I missed my friends. I drove around and I thought, yeah, it's nice here and stuff, but I wasn't loving it. And my husband would come home from work and say things like, don't you just love it here? And I think, well, I like it, but I don't know that I love it yet. Like I haven't gotten to that love point like I did where we used to live. And I pondered that a bit. I thought, yeah, he's loving it before I'm loving it. And then a friend of mine one day, a new friend, new place, I probably lived there about a year. We ended up living there for 12 years, I think. Anyway, lived there about a year at this point. And she said to me, how do you like living here? Are you guys liking living here? And everyone loved living there. And I'm honest when I answer. Sometimes people would say, oh, fine, but I'm a sharer and I have a need to be authentic. So I said, well, I like living here, but I was talking to my husband about it, and he loves it. And I told him I haven't gotten to the point of, oh, I love it. I like it. I'm enjoying it, but I haven't grown to love it yet like I did where I used to live. And I said, but it doesn't mean I don't like it. I just don't love it. Because where I used to live, I remember that I'd drive places, and every fall there was this one big tree that was just giant, and it would turn bright yellow. The tree was in between our house and the school. We were 2 miles from the school. So halfway, every fall, I'd look forward to seeing that tree. And then we also had this tree tunnel as we drove up the mountain, coming out of the redwoods. We went through this tree tunnel, and it always made us so happy to do that. And I also love driving to go to Target. We cross this marsh, and you look out and you see these egrets. So I told her that I hadn't gotten to that point of loving it yet. And who knows if she wanted the whole evaluation. But I was telling her that I liked it. I just hadn't quite gotten to that point of being able to honestly say, I love it here. And her response was, I learned later that she sees things more black and white. But anyway, her response after me saying all of that was, I'm sorry that you hate living here so much. And I said, no, I never said I hate living here so much. But I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, what can I do? Like, is there something that I can do? Not just wait for that to happen for me to love it, but is there something that I could actively do to love living here? To drive around and see something that made me love seeing it. So I thought of my candle, hammock, how I made that mental list. And I think there were only like three or four things of I always feel good when I look up at the stars at night or something like that, that I realized you could do that tonight. You could see the stars. It's not too foggy. It's not raining or something like that. But I remembered that where I used to live, and it wasn't like I had to force myself or encourage myself then, but I learned to love some things over time, but I also made myself recognize what I loved at other times. And so I thought, okay, how can I use that here? And I decided that as I drove around, as I went to a store or to take the kids to school or drove to church or drove to the beach or whatever, that I would look for something that made me happy to see it. And where we lived, we drove down kind of a mountain toward the beach, and there was a mission. This is California, so they have missions and stuff. There's a mission. It was a newer mission. I didn't know that, but anyway, it was like a newer mission on Mission Street in Santa Cruz, if you know Santa Cruz, California. But I could see the mission as I came down the hill. My grandparents were Catholic, and for some reason, every time I see any kind of cathedral, I love seeing missions. I love seeing cathedrals. That's something that's important to me. My best friend was Catholic too. It's just a part of me that that touches my heart. So I would see that mission, and every time I'd see it, I'd think, "Oh, yeah, that's something I love seeing." And I decided to recognize that and to look for more things. And as time went on, I made myself look at things a little deeper, like somebody's decorations they had at Christmas time. And every year I look forward to that. Or I like that tree. There's things in nature that we enjoy seeing, or I'll go for a walk and, oh, I like going on the walk this way because then I get to see this, or I get to smell that, or whatever those things may be. And it did not take me long to feel happier when I went places, to feel happier in my car, to be happier in my home. We had a great view. We were up on the mountain. We had a great view to look out to other mountains and across toward the ocean. We couldn't see the ocean from our house, but people up the hill could. Anyway, it made me a lot happier and helped me love living there. We've since moved away, and I have used that tactic, that strategy to help me love where I live now much more, much more. So I just encourage you to do the same. Take some time to go through the favorite things quiz, or if you think, I don't want to do that right now, I'm driving my car, that's not really possible, or I'm just going to think of three things, that's fine too. You don't have to take my quiz, although I think it would be fun if you did. You might like it. But even if you just think of three things that you might see every day, or that you might be able to simply do at home, or if you have a place of work, maybe even just wearing s- your favorite shoes or something like that. It could be something that makes your day feel a little better. In fact, my boss that I had in my first job out of college, I came to work a week or two, and she was very professional. She wore suit coats and stuff. I'm not a suit coat person, but I would try to wear a dress or skirt or things like that. And one day I came to work and she said, "You look really frumpy today." And we were good friends. She was like a mom away from home kind of person. But she said, and I told her I like to be comfortable, that's important to me. But she said, "I feel like the way people look on the outside is a reflection of how they feel on the inside." And it was true. That week I was feeling that way. I was feeling that way. And that's what I chose to wear. But at the same time, I do need to be comfortable. But if I do wear my favorite clothes the way I love to dress, put a little more effort into it or a little less effort, depending on what the situation is, it does make me happier. But anyway, that's it for today. I just wanted to explain my favorite things, your favorite things, get you thinking about your favorite things, what you're grateful for. I know people have gratitude journals. We used to have our daughter do that, who would get discouraged a lot when she was younger. And she had a gratitude journal, and she talked about it when she got in college, how just writing down how many things, 10, 5, whatever it was, she was grateful for, helped her feel a lot better. So hopefully this will help your day be a little bit better too. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.